Hey, this is Yazuki Wolf, and today we're going to be continuing with our Japanese cell shading. This may be the last video in the series, I'm not sure, but we'll see how this goes. At any rate, we have our illustration here with shadows, highlights, base colors, and gradations, pretty much everything you would need in a general illustration, so cell shaded illustrations. So most projects, you could probably say this is going to be finished. And there are a lot of projects that, for stylistic reasons, actually may want you to keep these very dark black line work here. Let's see if I could zoom in a little bit. So you see how we have these very dark black lines. For a lot of projects, that's going to be okay, and that might even be something that they want you to have. But if you can get away with it, and you think that it might add to the kind of general feel of your illustration, you might want to soften up those lines and not have them be so just blatantly dark like this. So there's a couple other just final last steps that you might want to take to clean this up a bit. So there's a couple ways we can do that. First off, I'm gonna go to our line layer, and keep in mind I have my line separated into two parts. So in my case, I might just stick to the I may just stick to the lighter line, but I don't know. I'm assuming that you probably only have one layer for your line, so just consider this all to be one layer for line work. I'll make it blue to make it more distinguishable. So above the line work, I'm going to make another layer, and now I'm going to make this mask to the line work. And then let's just take one of the darker colors in our illustration, like maybe this dark blue here, and fill in that whole layer with that dark blue, which then in turn fills in all your lines. And you can then take this layer and lower the opacity a bit so that it's still pretty dark blackish, but not quite as dark as before. So you can see right now how that's already softened up the illustration quite a bit. So earlier we had these straight up black line work here, and now we just kind of softened that a little bit. Do you see the difference? So this is before, and this is after. And this is before and after, but it's not quite enough yet. So let's do one more thing. We're going to take another layer on top of that, and I'm just going to select one of the lighter colors here, and I'm going to kind of fill in where I think a light might be coming in to the illustration, like so. Might be hitting the character rather. So let's say there's some light hitting above on her hair here by these highlights. And there's light coming in over her shoulder probably, maybe underneath her arm, around here. And I'm using the watercolor brush in Clip Studio Paint, because that's very easy to kind of blend with and get this nice smooth gradation. Otherwise, if you're using Photoshop, you can probably use a gradation tool or some other means to get a similar effect. But see, there we go. And now I'm going to change this layer into a screen layer, so that it mixes with the colors underneath it. And it looks fairly okay. I might spend more time on this in general terms, but today I think that'd be enough. So now to get rid of the excess area, we're just gonna hold Control and click on the base color layer, and that will, at least in Clip Studio Pro, I believe it also works in Photoshop, that should give you a selection of just that, of everything that's in that layer. So now we can delete everything outside of that. There's a button down here for Clip Studio Pro for deleting everything outside of your selection. If you're in Photoshop, you could do the longer route and just why is it not? Why am I not? Hold on a second. It's not responding. There we go. Yeah, sorry about that. So for Photoshop, you could do the long route and just do Control-Shift-I to... You can go Control-Shift-I to select the opposite side, the outside layer, and then Control-X to delete everything outside of that, and then Control-D will deselect that. Anyways, there we go. That's a little too much overlap here by her chest, so let's kind of delete some of that. And this might be a little too opaque, so I'm going to drop down the opacity a little bit. There we go. All right, so now that's before and then after. So you can see how this gives it a little bit of a softer touch. And especially I found in Japan, they kind of seem to like softer feel to things. I mean, it's changing a little bit with like Grand Blue Fantasy and kind of the art that you see with that game, where you have a little bit more stronger contrasts. But in general, they don't want like too many sharp edges or sharp colors as much. So having kind of more of a softness to it can help your illustration, depending on the subject matter and other things, of course. Another thing that you might want to do is maybe take your actual line layer. I actually have to rasterize mine. So I had mine as a vector in Clip Studio Paint, so I'm gonna have to rasterize that. So if you're using Clip Studio Paint, you could click on it and then click rasterize, and that makes it into a regular layer. So now I'm gonna duplicate this, and I'm going to take the layer on top of it and use the filter gauze blur. That's a little too much. Let's make it maybe like 3, I think would probably be about right. Yeah, something like that. All right, so that's just kind of soften things up a little bit. I could then take my bottom layer and maybe lower the opacity of that a little bit. I don't know, do I even need the bottom layer? Yeah, I could probably just, I think what I'm going to do, I think this would be good. I'm going to make a masking layer for the bottom layer. And actually this can hold Control, I believe. No, not Control. Is it Alt? Yeah, if you hold Alt while creating a masking layer, it will it will fill it in black so everything's masked. And so now basically my bottom unblurred layer is completely gone right now, but I'm going to then paint on the masking layer to reveal it. So I'm going to reveal it around the eyes. So basically what this is going to do, I use the word basically a little too much, but okay, anyways, this is what this is going to do, is this is going to make the area around her eyes much crisper. Because I don't know if you noticed earlier, but when it was all blurred, it made your eyes kind of struggle to figure out where you wanted to actually focus on. See if I could bring that. Yeah, I see. Is that it? No. Ah, here we go. Yeah, so right now you see if it's all blurred, your eyes might kind of struggle a little bit to try to figure out where you want to focus on. But if I can bring back the strong contrast in her eyes, then that kind of lets your eyes focus on her eyes, and it gives you a kind of resting place in the illustration. And there may be other parts besides her eyes that you might want to bring up that contrast as well. But at any rate, that's pretty much it for just kind of like softening up your line work. But so that's just one thing you can do with that. This is another part that another thing I want to tackle, because that didn't take too long to do. Now, I don't know if this would really be proper for this particular illustration, but just to show you one other thing that might come up in your shiage phase. What would you call that in English? Like your post-processing? I don't know if that's quite right, but your final, like brush up, I guess would be a good way to say it. So you're kind of brushing up phase. Is you might want to make kind of two color layers, where you have one that's going to be a what's the word? A cool color, like blue maybe. And I'm going to, it's a little too dark. Why is it so dark? There we go. Don't know why that was coming up so dark. All right, so I'm just gonna have kind of blue coming in from the bottom. And then we're gonna have warmer color, like say orange, coming from the top. And let's go back to the blue, and I'm just going to blend that out. If you have a gradient tool, you might want to use a gradient tool instead. Once again, when I use Clip Studio Pro, I just like using the watercolor brush. But yeah, something like that. Right, and we're going to turn that into something like a soft light layer, maybe? Let's see what overlay looks like. Huh. Not doing anything. Oh, okay. So in Clip Studio Pro, apparently even if you change the layer, it doesn't affect anything if it's inside a folder. So let me just take those outside of the folder and delete the folder. All right, so now it's outside of the folder. And we went from normal layer to, what's screen look like? I think soft light's probably good. Overlay? Nah. Yeah, the soft light. So I turned that to a soft light layer. So that's my blue as a soft light layer. And I'll just take our orange next. Okay, maybe turn that into a soft light there. See, there we go. And once again, we could take both of these and just hold Control while pressing the base color to select the base color layer, rather, to select the area of your actual character, and then delete the area outside of that. And see, there we go. We have just some different colorations going on here. I think I almost like it without the blue, because yeah, the character herself is already pretty blue, so I'm going to take the blue away. Otherwise, it's a little too soft for my taste. So there you go. That's kind of nice. Gives it a little bit more of like an atmospheric feel to it. And once again, depends on your illustration. In some cases, the original may be better just to have that like the kind of darker tone there. But if you want a more softer atmospheric touch, then something like this may work better. These are just little things you can do to kind of dab at it to make it a little softer in tone. So that was a pretty quick video, but I think there's one more thing I want to do. So today we're kind of messing with the softening up the line work, but I think one other thing I want to try doing for next video is let's try actually just getting rid of the lines completely. So right now, if I just turn the lines off, it's not very appealing, but you could probably see there's some potential here of having an interesting illustration if we could like completely convert these lines into actual colors to mix into the rest of the illustration. So that will be on my next video. Sorry it was a little short this time, but I think some people actually want a shorter video, so there you go. Till next time, yoroshiku.